respect, but I feel like it's something they didn't mean to, but it's something, as you said, it's from the culture. It's not
The
from.
culture is not conducive for it. The culture in our societies isn't, and so
So it's that like kind of.
it's unfortunate, but the reality is that we were struggling between what is right and what we assume to be right. See, inshallah, tomorrow in Waves, our bi-weekly event that we have with young professionals, we will be talking about modesty and modernity. Like, what defines modesty for someone who's in the workplace and you're constantly interacting with the opposite gender? What is modesty? Where does Islam fit in it? And it's sad that we have to teach it at such a late age because we don't want to talk about those things in our masjids. We don't want to talk about it at our homes. We think that these discussions are things they will figure out. They'll figure out how to interact. They'll figure out what marital relationships are and what's wrong and what is right. But how can you figure something out which is not being discussed? None of our masjids taught it. So someone sent me an email 2 months ago, and the parent was inquiring that my daughter is in grade 5. They have to go to there's an educational class that they give to 5th graders, in some places 4th graders, about the body's transformation and healthy sexual practices. It's like, does our Muslim community provide something? And I'm like, no, right? We don't. So I have no choice but to send them to that. And I remember our parents said, no, you cannot go. But then where did we learn? So the thing is that we are so behind when it comes to knowing right, but we are easily to blame the wrong, or they're learning from bad people. Well, because good people didn't want to teach them, you know. So when it comes to even husband-wife relationships, how many books have been written under the Islamic ream that explains it?
This one. In Arabic, I know like one.
Arabic, there's like one or two.
Yeah, we have.
There's a few in English. And just last year, a sister, she mashallah wrote a very detailed book. Why? Because she's like, who's going to talk about this? Like, no one talks about this stuff. So this is the problem. Now, when it comes to that, there's a culture, and this is what I don't want to call it hypocrisy. There's a culture of the Muslim community, and there's a culture outside the Muslim community. How we treat women here and how we treat women outside. And so the question is, which one are you saying is right? Because there's still sisters, right? There's a woman sister sitting next to you there, and then there's a woman who's working with you in the workplace. Which one is the right Islamic treatment? Because the rules of Islam apply in the masjid, in the home, in the workplace, in public. So which one are you supposed to be? Are we being super conservative in the masjid and super liberal outside the masjid?
Exactly.
What's up?
Definitely, when we go somewhere else, we're gonna say hi to everyone, like from the cashier and go
yeah.
to the co-workers, everything. I
Yeah.
remember like when Imam Mukhtar, he used to be, and he was leading the meeting, the same meeting, but he used to start with the sisters. He started saying "Assalamu alaikum" to the sisters, and then he went. So I don't know. That was just something just to, like, I don't know. It's something different. It's something weird. Like you have to say "Assalamu alaikum" either to everyone. Don't specify say "Assalamu alaikum" brothers. You know?
I know it's
Yeah.
it's gonna take time, and it may take a generation or two, but we have to start it because it's taken at least 2-3 generations of neglect that has led to this. Remember, one thing is every generation will will create a mindset or a perception of how Islam has always been. And as I talked about a few weeks ago in the khutbah, Islam has not always been like this. Islam has not. Islam was different. Islam has become different now, and we just need to take it back to what it was. But your was and is and will be is very limited. Your scope is limited. Our history for any of the children right now, their history does not even go to the 80s. They'll be lucky if it hits the 90s. So when we're talking 120 years of Islamic neglect, it's not something they can grasp. Very few will understand things in the scope of history, and because we won't understand, we are doomed to repeat it. That's the sad part. But we're actually going to be talking about those rights and neglect today, inshallah. Anyone else, inshallah? Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, complaints? We add complaints to the list. Throw it on. Yes, we got one.
Yeah, I just have a simple question. Like, you know, a lot of time you take shower and you want to make it niya for wudu. How you do that? I just
So you make niyyah for tahara. See, like in Hanfi school of thought, you don't have to articulate it as some other school of thoughts where you have to really make the full intention. But of course, your intention is I'm going to purify myself and cleanse myself from small najis and large najis, whatever it is. So if that's your mindset and you go into the shower, regardless if you do the wudu or not, which you should do the wudu first because it's like a sunnah practice, it's going to be mashallah. Because the Prophet saw some first thing he did after cleaning himself, he would make the wudu and then he would take the rest of the shower. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
make it intentional.
And when we say shower, remember it was the bucket and the,
yeah,
you know, it wasn't the raindrop shower with the jets to kind of give
Just-
massage. it was the
do
bucket.
wudu before you take the shower.
So first he would clean his hands, right? And then if he had to clean his private parts, then clean his hands again, and then he would start the wudu. And then after that was done, then he would use the rest of the water right to left, and then soap down, and then right to left, and yeah, I'm done.
Not only mouth, cleaning the mouth and the.
That's a compulsories of ghusl.
Okay.
Oh,
Those are the
really?
compulsories of ghusl. So if you have to take like a farz ghusl, like a compulsory bath, then what happens is impurity has to be removed first. Then one person has to gargle and then put with exaggeration and put water up to one's nostrils, past the bone with exaggeration, and then wash the body from head to toe. Every single hair should be wet. Now the thing here is, if it's Ramadan, if a person is fasting, then they will not gargle, but they will rinse and spit, and they'll put the water lightly up the nose. That exaggeration would not happen because then it's chances the water is going to go down and you'll break your fast.
But isn't it during the Ramadan, you have to take the ghusl beforehand?
So sometimes what happens is just say a person, we talk practical, just say a person missed their Fajr, missed their Suhoor, they're fasting, they woke up but they're in a state of impurity. They'll still have to take a bath, yeah. So, yeah, and again, one is what should be done and one is what happens. So we have to kind of balance the two out. Any other questions, inshallah? Yes, yes.
Can I ask a general question?
Yeah, of course, it's open.
So I know you must have addressed it before, but I want to know the Islamic stance on counseling.
Mhm.
So what the legal evidence we can give from Sunnah about counseling? I know back home we have Prophet or, especially even in our, back in our countries, we have like family who can counsel. But here, if we talk about this, so if a teens need counseling, how do you give the lead from Islamic history, from Hadith and Sunnah?
So teen counseling or marital counseling?
Any counseling.
So basically, when it comes to marriage, for example, mediation and counseling is commanded. Like, فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا إِنْ يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the situation that when marriage starts hitting the rocks, then there should be people sent from both sides to help mediate the situation, or both should go and sit down with someone who is neutral to mediate the situation. There's no marriage that should lead to divorce without there's no marriage that should lead to divorce without the steps of mediation, counseling, rectification, and the effort that's required. Unfortunately, we do so much effort to get to the marriage, and then we're just, after it breaks down so bad, ready to just get rid of the marriage. And that's because lack of work, and also secondly, the lack of following these steps. When it comes to family counseling, children, or anything else, Islam created an environment where each person had access to another to seek that open advice. There was no, it was not considered a taboo. If you look at some of the things that the women asked the Prophet ﷺ, you would consider to be disrespectful. If you saw some of the things that the men asked the Prophet ﷺ in the open, you'd consider to be disrespectful. But he had created an atmosphere where people were not judged based on the perfection of the life that they presented, but who they were. Abu Huraira was hungry, poor, sometimes without anything, sitting by the mihrab. That's who he was. Ashab al-Sufa were naked. That's who they were. It was just who they were. Our society, and again I'm saying our society, our Indo-Pak and Arabian society and African society has created this thing of perfection. We're perfect. Our lives are perfect. And so that's why it's becoming ever more so difficult to say, I have a problem or I need help. It's very hard to say that. Why? Because every second person will look at you differently. They'll distance themselves from you and your kids, and it's just a whole 9 yards of problem. So in this culture here in America, it's not considered a taboo. It's not considered something wrong. You won't hear American people say, if I take my child to counseling, मेरे बेटी से कौन शादी करेगा? Like, people don't talk like that. Who's going to marry my daughter? They look at the immediate need at hand. So what we try to do here is, especially at this masjid, is to create the atmosphere where people feel the comfort and they can uphold that confidentiality, where they should come and talk and ask. We're not saying we're professionals here, but we know how to, inshallah, hand it off to the people needed that can help them and assist them further. So, is there a verse in the Quran or specific hadith that can allude to this? Not off the top of my head from the hadith. In the Quran, nothing is coming to mind, but we could see the back and forth Musa Islam had with his brother Harun Islam. That back and forth was.
Any incidents, like, if somebody is reluctant and he needs counseling, I mean, how do you convince if they're not convinced, they're not ready to seek help? It's very hard.
So by law, even by law, you can't force someone. Like even someone.
Advise, I mean, there are so many sisters who need help, but they don't want to go just because of the taboo that, I don't need counseling, or people will judge me, and the same, cultural.
I don't know how many counselings I've done now. I've done over 100 since I've been here. And I could say some of the situations are on the brink of disaster. Some marriages, some personal issues are literally suicidal. It's bad. And the thing is that we still don't want to, okay, we talked about it. Okay, talk, no, I'm fine. No, now we need to really go through the process, but some people I don't want to. So the scary part is that if we don't wake up to the fact that, hey, we have issues to discuss and solve, we're going to have to go through a few more problems and tragedies in our communities before we wake up and say, what needs to be done. It's a sad reality. It's only tragedies that change our mindset. Unfortunately, we don't see it beforehand. We're like, okay, now we have to start doing something. So what I had requested all the sisters many months ago was that the sisters create like a circle, and I found out after there is just circle of discussion, like meet upstairs once a week just to talk to each other, to kind of vent your frustration, or to share ideas about teenagers, about spouse, or just to get the ideas that, okay, number one, a person when they release, they feel a bit better that, I got something off my chest. I've also heard that other people are kind of in the same boat, so I'm not abnormal. Number three is someone shared with me some ideas that I may never have used before, and I'll try that. And someone can share their tragic stories of what happened in their family to help you create that sense of resolve. No, I need to do something. So that's not a counseling session. It's just the sisters get together to discuss. That will hopefully open the doors and encourage that, let's go and seek help from whichever source we can. And when it comes to that, it's not about Muslim or non-Muslim, someone who understands your culture or not. Anyone that you can go to that can understand how to help, I think that should be your priority, anyone's priority, actually. And I agree with you. There's a lot of teenagers, there's a lot of adults, a lot of males, a lot of females who you can tell they need help, but they're just like, no, I'm not going to seek help. It's scary. It is very scary.
And when you do sister, it's not backbiting, right? When you're discussing things, not for the intention.
No. You're not taking anyone's name.
Because then you have to say something about your husband's or kids, so it doesn't come under.
See, what happens is that if a person is taking names only for the sake of assisting in a problem, it's fine. But if you're taking names just for vain talk, that's what backbiting happens. There has to be a time where you're going to have to speak to someone about something and about someone, and you just let it out. You're not backbiting. It's a call for help. So.
But sometimes it happens, one of the partner might have problem, but he or she doesn't want to go to the, counseling.
So ultimately, what happens in that? Had a call this morning, same thing. Well, what happens is that he or she hurts themselves with their actions. It hurts them. It's not like they're having a good time. If some people have a problem, their attitude, their demeanor, their bad habits are hurting them. Then number two, it hurts the marriage. Number three, hurts the other spouse. See, the marriage is in between the both spouses. And then after, it hurts the children. right? And now the children grow up, they will act out. They'll do the same thing 10 times over.
That will affect the community.
So what happens now, these boys and girls go get married, they are already problem children. They're going to become problem spouses. They will give birth to more problematic children. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And that's what I said. How do you stabilize a community that every single person sitting in front of you in Juma thinks about religion differently, has different concerns and thoughts, is blocked off by all these issues that they personally have? How do you get to those people? Coming and giving a khutbah about something high tech and walking away doesn't help anyone. As I said, we can read books the rest of our life. The question is, can we stabilize our foundation first? The car is saying 4,000 pounds, and we're putting 5,000 and 6,000 pounds, and the shocks of the car is already weak. It's broken. So a car should even be taking 400 pounds. But we don't want to fix that. We're just like, some people reinforce the framework of the car or the truck. It could take more load. Sometimes you see a truck, a Dodge Ram, it's pulling so much. Why? Because it's been specially equipped to do that. They first build it up and then they did the job. We're like, keep on throwing it on a broken car. Our lives are broken. If we can't say that, then who is going to say that? Our lives are broken, and we just say, okay, throw more stuff on it and we'll cover up. Our traditional way is cover it up, layers on layers. And if it pops out, cover it up again. It's not going to fix anything. It's only going to make the situation worse. And so that's why our kids are running away from Islam. They're not running away from Islam, they're running away from a culture. They hate the culture, but the culture was Islam to them, and that's why they're running from it. And when you see that variation, that vast variation, it's like, a tree, when you cut a tree, the lines on the wood, it's like an age. It's a timeline, right? It's a timeline of age. And the variation that you see between the parents and the children is a timeline, the build-up process of how much trauma has been inflicted and has grown on them. But again, I can be an optimist, but in this case, I'm a pessimist. Our communities are not going to change. Our communities will continue driving down. One of our trustees of my oldest masjid, he would say, "Chalti ka naam gari." The car is broken, but it's just being dragged along. Just let it keep on dragging. Our masjids are running, however they're running, keep them running. Our houses are running, however they're running, keep them running. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Why do we have car inspections here in this state? Florida doesn't have it. Why do we have it? Because any car that is leaking oil or it's emitting fumes that it's not supposed to is going to harm all of us 30, 40 years from now. So if your car is right now doing that, we're going to stop you from doing that. I.e., you fix your car, you get a new car. This car is not going to go on Texas Road. When is the day going to come? We're going to say, this culture in our religion, in our communities is going to stop. We're going to inspect it. If the inspection fails, we're going to fix it. If it doesn't fix, then we're going to destroy it. Why? Because 20, 30 years from now, we're going to suffer. But what do we say? Inshallah, I'll be dead by then. It's their problem. So much love we have in Islam for our children. We'll give it to them. They'll solve it. So they want us to solve our problems, their problems, our parents' problems, and our grandparents' problems. That's not fair. A lot of things have been done systematically to us in our childhood or us in our marriages. It's just part of what's been continuing. Who is going to break that? You could see children don't want to even get married anymore because they don't want to go into that. That's the one part of religion I don't want. When Islam says that's half your faith. Half your faith is complete by marriage. Half your faith is perfected. Half your faith is now going to make every moment of your life ibadat. But no, we don't want it.
Yeah, just because this family or this family, two couple, their life is not successful, so I don't want to go through this.
You're talking about families or friends or examples in the home, parents or siblings. Their marriage was unsuccessful, so I don't want to do it. It's so close. It is so close. And ultimately what happens, I was just telling your brother last night, 50 years from now, we'll be hearing that, because if you look at Frisco and other places, they're mass building apartments, right? There was a sign on the way to Dallas. I don't know which. It was an apartment complex. It's like you don't need you don't need a dating app. Move into this complex. What is it saying? I was like shocked. Like, is that? Did I just read what I read? Meaning we're making these little worlds now. You go make money. You come here. There's a gym. There's a restaurant, and there's a lot of single men and women. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just keep on sleeping around. You'll find 50 years from now, people will be dead in their apartments for days, if not weeks or months, and no one will know because there's no children, there's no parents, there's no friends, there's no one. It's going to be a sad state of affairs because we're living that single life, this mentality, which again, as I challenged many times before, never in the history of existence has this life been trending. Adam alayhi salam was alone. He told Allah, I'm alone. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling lost, Allah made Hawa alayhi salam from his rib, a part of him, i.e. from the upper right rib, left rib means what? People say, oh, women are crooked. No, that's the most strongest rib which protects the heart. Your spouse and partner has been made from the most closest and most vital part of your body. It's that connection that you need each other. Every child needs a friend. Everyone needs someone to work with, a coworker. Everyone needs a congregation or a spouse or children. Everyone needs someone. A dog and a cat cannot substitute for that. How many dogs are you going to have? It's not going to substitute, but that's a life. That's a life. Back in the 90s, sorry to bring England to it, the dog sits in the front seat, the kids sit in the back. It's like, what's going on here? England had the trend before America. It's like, it was crazy. But where is it going to go? Think about it. Where is it going to go? It's a sad state of affairs. It's a very sad. And again, don't blame the culture of America. Don't blame the streets of America or the schools of America. Blame that culture that we created in our homes, in our community, which is so venomous. They're like, you know what? I'm not going there. We all have to. And the thing is that we can't change them until we address our problems. We all need to go to counseling individually and say, okay, this was my problem growing up. This is my problem in my marriage. How do I solve this? Because by sweeping it under the rug, running from it, it hasn't solved. It's actually multiplying. So you need to stop and turn around and say, look at this monster I've created. By ignoring it, I need help to cut it off from my leg. It's attached to your leg. It's dragging as you're walking. You need to cut the thing off. If it's a chain, you need to snap the chain off. But you need help for that. And that help comes from basic things. People teach us anger management techniques. They'll teach us how to keep ourselves healthy. They'll help us. People will help us. But we need to help ourselves first. There is not a single resource, but alhamdulillah, in this country we have it. How many in Plano, Frisco? You have every type of health expert. You have every type from children to adults, from pediatricians to podiatrists, dermatologists, everything. Anything under the sun, you have it. Back in the days, you never. It was the same old one hakim, one doctor in the whole neighborhood who came and did everything, He would do a ruqya, and he would give you herbal medicines, he would slap you with a few leaves, whatever it was. It was all the same, it was all one. Here we have specialists. We have people in the mental health. If we can take the step to go and seek help, we will teach our children indirectly. It's nothing wrong by seeking help. When we can see that progress happen, they will see progress happen. They think of us as perfect, and we want to reflect that perfection, but no one is perfect. No one is perfect. If anyone thinks they're perfect, then they're fooling themselves. So when we start, we show our children life is a process. The car is new today, tomorrow the tires will run out, and then the transmission might need to be changed. But it's okay. You don't have to scrap the car. You just need to save up, fix it, and move along. And the older that car becomes, the more value it has in your eyes. Same way, our bodies need that tune-up and maintenance. Our marriages need that maintenance. Our families need that maintenance. And if a masjid was to do a generalized maintenance, it's not going to work. There has to be generalized direction, but everyone needs to go into their lane, right? When you go to the mechanic, each car goes into its bay. You don't see 5 cars piling on top of each other for an oil change. No, One goes, what's this car? What's its problem? Do it. Out it goes from that side, a new car comes, right? So we have to all look at each case as a case and not generalize it.
I'm saying it's not only here, because you just mentioned that the apartment in Frisco, like back home, there's like a restaurant, like, they just wrote in their walls, life is beautiful, but you're married. So they encourage the people like, especially these young, adults, like 20s, they go there, so, I don't know, this is not a good sign.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. And the fact that those relationships aren't working at all are already becoming apparent. They've been trying it since the 20s. Now they're in their 30s. They're getting into their 40s. It's just not working. It's not satisfying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, meaning that when a husband and wife come together, just sit with each other, they're in the close proximity of each other, there's a level of happiness and fulfillment in your heart that, there's someone. Imagine going home and there's no one to talk to except for Alexa. How much you can talk to Alexa? Even she gets annoyed, I'm sure. She's like, okay, could you be quiet now? I need to charge my batteries. Like, what's wrong? We're making an artificial world, which is fine. Let the world do what the world has to do. You need to do what you're supposed to do. They're making artificial robots, and I don't know what's going to happen. Let the robots drive people and bring food for them. And now, I think this morning, our mayor just introduced the FedEx robot. The FedEx robot, you might have seen the advertisement. It's going to drive around delivering packages and stuff. Soon we're going to have drones bringing you Amazon stuff. Let them do that. But I'm still going to go to a grocery store with my children and teach them how to buy food. Because you know what? One thing they don't teach in the schools is how to manage money. It's interesting. Last Christmas, one parent put a video on that they gave gifts to the kids, and they videoed how the kids opened it. They opened it, it was like spaghetti sauce, or it was a shirt, and they were throwing tantrums. Like, this also costs money. Like, you taking food and clothing and shoes for granted, that's money. That's a gift. Back in the days for us, Eid was that. You got a new pair of clothes. You got socks. That was Eid. Now it's like iTunes gift card should be at least $400. The new iPhone is out; it's only $1,500. Come on, I'm sure you can afford it. If not, the new Samsung foldable phone is coming out end of this month. It's going to be only $2,200. I'm sure you could afford it, right? We're just giving our kids; they don't understand what money is. They could drop it, they could break it. Mom, my screen is broken. I need a new phone. Go to Jamaica, go to Haiti, go just south. We don't have to go far. Go to Mexico. They'll take even the broken things and make it work again. They'll fix it. We believe in it's not working, trash it. Why? No value of money. So I'm going to teach my child to go out and say, this is $50, and we're going to buy groceries for the home today. Now, I want you to come help me, and we're going to be counting. So when you pick up that cookie box or cereal box or those bananas, that orange juice, count. They'll be doing calculation. Their math is improving. Yes, we have calculators, but that doesn't mean we have to be dumb. Right? Learn. And then bring them to the register and say, how much you think? Do you think we under or we're over? And if not, how much? Now realize where $50 comes from. They realize a person working behind the register in some states makes $6 or $7 an hour. And here you're spending maybe an all day's worth of income on groceries. Value. Teach your children value. So these are things. The world can do whatever it's want. I said, don't blame the world. We will be insecure of mixing with other people when we are not confident of our own faith. Let's not mix with people of other faith. Why? Because we are not confident in our faith. Number one. Let's not let's close the children's eyes or close the blind on that technology or that movie or that thing. We are gonna be fearful when we lack confidence in our direction in life. I don't care who's doing what in the cars around me. I'm on my highway driving to my destination. I couldn't care less of what you're doing. I don't care what color your car is, what kind of music you're playing. I am going to my direction. Teach your children we have a direction, we're moving that way. We don't care about anyone else. What we care is that people will follow us. That yes, this person is stable. They're going towards a destination. They're not veering off the road left and right. Sometimes when you're really tired at night in Canada, especially when it's snowing, we look for trucks. You find an 18-wheeler truck, you get behind the truck. Why? Because it plows through the snow. It kind of cleans up a bit of the road for you, and especially when you're kind of tired. Okay, so you see those lights, and you're okay, let's follow this truck. I would never get behind a car that's swerving. I'm going to slow down or I'm going to speed up and get away from it. But you look for companions. Sometimes when I used to drive from Tampa to Miami, there is a stretch called the Alligator Alley. It's almost 60 or 70 miles. There's only one stop in between. It's dead. And so sometimes in the daytime when it's hot, and the worst for me would be nighttime. When I'd finish work in Miami Gardens, I had to drive back. It's that nighttime drive is very dead. There's no street lights, right? There's no highway lights. So you always find a companion on the road and you drive together. And when you get out on the opposite side, when the toll is done, you honk at each other. You know, thank you. Because I needed someone there to be with me as I went through this. So we should be the trend makers, not the trend seekers. And that's why Muslims are failing. And that's all these problems. We're going to have so many more problems. This is just 10%. We're going to have more problems, I assure you, that's going to happen, unfortunately. Because I said, I think we're going to have to be hit against the wall a few times before we realize and wake up that what needs to be done. Let's not allow tragedies to change our ways. Let's allow the prophetic guidelines and the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change our ways, inshallah. Ameen. Inshallah. So, Ramadan schedule is there, right? We've talked about it. We want to go in the book. I just want to recap on something I talked about last time, Khatra. The theme that I'm trying to make for this Ramadan is about opening the eyes of the heart. I want you all to reflect for a moment. MashaAllah, the grass outside is green, right? It's so beautiful. It's so tranquil. When you see that green color, it's peaceful. When you look at the trees outside this masjid, the leaves are growing again. Just 2 weeks ago, it was bare dead. If you remember the grass 2 weeks ago, it was so brown that even when it rained and kids ran on it, it looked like only mud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about revivals, how Allah brings things back to life. Did you notice that within these 2 weeks, how Allah brought life back to the dead? The plants were dead, Allah has brought full life back. The grass was brown with mud, today it's lush green. Yes? Did you not see those big mosquitoes? I never knew Texas had such big mosquitoes. I'm like, what is that thing? It was in my office, like, go. Huh?
The June bug is coming.
Oh, the
June bug.
June bug. Oh, okay. So I need to move away from June. So it's weird. It's like these mosquitoes, like, didn't you die in winter? Like, what's wrong with you? But wherever they were, they stayed put. You know, they hibernated, whatever they did, and now they're back out. SubhanAllah, I was watching I think it's on Planet Earth, which I recommend everyone to watch. Planet Earth is amazing. It's only SubhanAllah. So you remember, you understand the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, if we can't travel the earth, put it on. Let the kids watch this. So there's a fish that when in Africa it rains and the rivers start flowing, this fish is there, right? Now, when it starts drying up, what it does, that fish, it starts digging a hole. And it digs a hole and it starts creating mucus. So it spits out mucus and it creates a mucus ball. And in that mucus ball, it buries itself into the ground. Because now the water dries up, the earth cracks again. It's a drought. That fish is sitting in a mucus ball alive, sitting there. When the rain starts falling and the rain starts penetrating the earth and hitting him, he starts waking back up again and he comes out of the ball and goes back into the water. Think about Allah's creation. Florida is one of the places where we have all the exotic animals of the world in one place. We have the Burmese python. We also have the walking catfish. If you ever seen, the fish comes out of like one pond or one canal, it walks across the street and it goes into the next one. It walks. It literally just is going. It's like, what is this fish doing? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation is such that He just showed us the impossible became possible. What is this a lesson for me? Doesn't matter how hard life gets, and it strips me to my bone, the conditions. Allah's mercy is going to fall and He is going to revive you once again. He's going to revive you in this world over and over again. No situation can be written off. We could have said, let's chop these trees down and these bushes down and rip the grass out because it's dead. Allah said, I showed you in just a few days how that dead became alive, that if you told anyone this was dead, you'd say no. That the trees outside the masjid were literally dead, they were bare. And subhanAllah, they're green already. What is Allah telling us? Everything is possible for Him. I said in the khutbah last week, this Ramadan, every Ramadan serves as the opportunity to put your hands down and say, Allah, I cannot do this. I've tried to control my life. I tried to control my affairs. I tried to control my family. I tried to control my children. I tried to control the perception of myself. Allah, I cannot do it. I'm suffering. My family's suffering. The entire ummah suffering. Now is the time to say, Allah, you shower the rain of your mercy in this month and you take over. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about blindness. And He refers to that blindness metaphorically. There is physical blindness and there's metaphorical blindness. Spirituality is one eye, and what's apparent is the other eye. So Allah's given us two eyes. In a hadith tells us one is to look at everyone's good and one's to look at your weaknesses and faults. But there are two sets of eyes here. One is these eyes and one is these eyes. This eye is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. I gave the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, Man kana fi hadhihi a'ma fahuwa fil akhirati a'ma wa adallu sabila. So if you take it literally, it means whoever is blind in this world will be blind in the next world and will be more lost. Like they're going to be extremely lost. So if a person who's blind in the world today bumped into a wall every 2 days, in the next life they'll be bumping into a wall every 2 seconds. Like that's how blind they'll be. So the question arises is that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qadir ala kulli shay, everything He can do, why couldn't Allah restore this person's eyesight? Is it a logical question? Allah is saying in His book, if you're blind today, you're blind tomorrow. So why can't Allah give this person their eyesight back? When we learn from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and I gave the example what the hadith said, that the Prophet ﷺ said, on that day, Allah will restore you and I in our entirety. Our entire body, every strand of hair, every part of our skin will be back. It's going to come back. And the hadith says, for the males, their circumcision, that flesh was removed. You don't even know where it is. Allah's going to bring that back. Understand this. Allah's not making new. Allah's bringing back. There's two differences here. Allah is restoring you to what you were. So if Allah can restore you, how come He couldn't restore sight? Is Allah not capable? No. The hadith is not talking about Allah being capable. The hadith is saying whoever is blind of seeing from the heart in this world is going to be blind of seeing Allah's blessings tomorrow. If you couldn't see Allah through this heart today, you will not see Allah in His bounties tomorrow. It's guaranteed. Now, what is that blindness? So I gave the example about back in the days we used to get those cereal boxes, had the gifts and the toys, and one of those things were the 3D. Sometimes the back of the box was like a 3D image, and inside the box was the 3D glasses. So you take those cardboard things out, you wear it. Initially, if you look at it, it's like a whole bunch of scribbles. But when you put the glasses on, it shows the picture. What was the difference? What changed? The filter. When you change the filter, you could see. That's all it was. Change the filter. Adopt a filter. When you talk about the sun, it's so hot outside right now, mashallah, it's so bright. All of us are wearing some type of glasses or sunglasses. If not, we're squinting because it's so much light that our eyes need to kind of close so we can see. When there's an eclipse, they give you special glasses to look with, right? With special glasses, you can see the eclipse. SubhanAllah, we had that last eclipse. All the neighbors were watching it. I was doing a 360 of it. And I was trying to wait for it, but you couldn't see with the naked eye. And my neighbor came across, goes, did you see it? I was like, I can't. I'm taking this picture. It's not working. He goes, no, you have to see through the lens. And when I put those glasses on, you could see it so clear. It still looked like the sun was there, but no. It's just like a 1 second of shade kind of crossed the earth. But the whole process was still ongoing. But with your naked eye, you couldn't see it to see with a filter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ. Remember, the eyes don't go blind. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. The heart goes blind. So what's the glasses I need to wear? Some of us, if our eyes are not good, what do we get? Prescription glasses, right? If not prescription contact lens. Without them, you will not be able to see clearly. What is that glass? Wallahu yahulu bayna al-mar'i wa qalbih. Allah is the glasses between you and your heart. If you put the Allah glasses on, you will see the world differently. Right now, we are frustrated. We are really stressed out. Why? Because we're trying to look without our glasses. If you have glasses, you take your glasses off, and someone tells you read the book, you're gonna be doing everything. You'll be doing this. You'll be frustrated. Like, I can't read it. Ultimately, you'll be frustrated. I can't read it. We can't understand the world today. You know why? Because our hearts have become blind. So what we have to do is put the glasses on. And as you put the glasses on, our eyes will perfect, rectify that without those glasses physically being there, the light of Allah will allow us to see it. So inshallah, this Ramadan will be themed to revive the hearts, the sight of the hearts. And how to revive the sight of the heart has to be a physical prescription, a mental prescription, a spiritual prescription, and a long-term strategy, which inshallah we will be inshallah presenting to the community in the coming weeks and days, and everything is going to inshallah start being themed around that. So alhamdulillah, a believer has the opportunity to realize that there's something wrong with my eyes. A believer through the Quran was able to go to an optician's and get an eye test done. A believer through the belief and faith in the Quran and Allah's help was able to acquire the glasses. That's what a believer is. Now the question is, are we going to wear them? Put Allah back on. If you put Allah on, the world will make sense. If not, I promise you, the world will never make sense. And it's not supposed to. You know why? Because Allah says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا, but it's only a deception. It's all a deception. You go into a haunted house and you see these 3D images and you're screaming. It's not there. It's a deception. All our life is a deception. And it's so amazing, it's astonishing, it's mind-boggling that we're so caught up in this deception we forgot about reality. We're not here forever. We're going to die because there's a better day coming before us. But we don't have the time, the energy, the brain capacity to think of it because we are exhausted here. So Allah says, stop exhausting yourself here. Put the glasses on. Get forward. Get to where you need to go. That makes sense. This world is only a deception. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us out of this deception, inshallah, ameen, and allow us to see with clarity the path, the road ahead, so that we may accomplish our goal and reach our collective destination. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So going into a few last things about the Muslim woman and her Lord, I'm going to skip through a few points. One of the points that the author is talking about is that it was through Allah, not through man. It was through Allah that a woman was given responsibility. It was through Allah a woman was recognized. It was through Allah that women were termed human beings. And I'm saying this through Allah because societies were contrary to that. It was also through Allah that a woman was granted a position. For example, he says the position of women under ancient laws may be summarized in the comment of the Indian leader Jawaharlal Nehru in his book, The Discovery of India, where he quotes, "The legal position of women, according to Manu, was undoubtedly very bad. They were always dependent on either a father, a husband, or a son. It is known that inheritance in India always passed from male to male and excluded females." It's amazing how the people who are who openly neglect rights are pinning that blame on Muslims. And it's crazy that Muslims buy that theory. Oh, we are bad people. We are bad women. The last two sessions we've had is proving us Islam isn't wrong. Muslims may be wrong. Our culture is very wrong, but Islam isn't wrong. Islam gave those positions. Islam gave a position to women that was not even allowed at the time of Greece or Rome or during the early Christian period. The position of women in ancient Roman law was based on the complete denial of her civil rights, on requiring her to be constantly under the tutelage of a guardian, whether she was a minor or had reached the age of maturity, simply because she was a female. She was always under the father or husband's tutelage and had no freedom whatsoever to do what she wished. In general, she could be inherited. She could be inherited, but she had no rights of inheritance. Under Roman law, a woman was simply one of the possessions of her husband. She was like a car in the garage or a watch in the drawer. That's how it was. As a result of the influences of Roman law, women's position during the early Christian period was as appalling as Nehru suggests. Some religious councils shed doubts of the humanity of woman and the nature of her soul. And sadly, some of this was rooted in twisted spiritual text. So in Christian churches, some will say that women are cursed on this earth. I talked about this last week because she was the reason why we're down here from heaven. Hawa messed up. Hawa messed up, and that's why we're all here. But Islam, Quran addressed it. So Quran was amazing that 200-300 years after Jesus, peace be upon him, when the ideology came that Trinity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hit it straight on. Allah didn't have to address it. He could have said, just ignore the Christians and the Jews. No, he called them the people of the book because by default, that's who they are. They took on the title, we are Christians, Nasara, and we are Yahud, the Jews. Allah didn't give them these titles. They gave themselves these titles. Allah gave all of us one title. You are the people of the book. The people who have been given the book, the scripture, the prophet, you've accepted, embraced it. You're the people of the book. But you call yourself these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to us then, Huwa sammakumul muslimin. He's named you Muslims, meaning you submit to Allah and you are people who are submitting to Allah through your life. As people of the book, you fully submit. That's why we are distinguished by sami'na wa ata'na. We listen and we do. Allah, you say, I'm going to do. And there's no harm and there's no loss in doing that. The loss is when you say, Sami'na wa asayna. The people say, Allah will listen, but yeah, we hear you, we'll do what we want to do. That's where religion becomes a problem. So when they created the concept of Trinity, which Jesus, peace be upon him, didn't. And inshallah, the last 10 nights of Ramadan, we're going to have an amazing class, inshallah, here. 6 or 7 classes will be about Isa alayhi salam, the Jesus of the Bible in the Quran of Islam. I want you all to think about that. We're going to have a 8th session will be about Syria. 9th session will be about Gog and Magog. 10th session will be about Dajjal. Inshallah. It's going to be a real good session we're going to have every evening here. We are going to be understanding what the relevancy of our faith is in the world we live in today. We talk, our book, our Quran is relevant, our Islam is relevant. Ask someone, how is it relevant? If my Quran is speaking to me right now, how is it speaking? We can't answer that. Oh, Allah is the creator of everything. We know that. This was by default known, that there's a creator, there's a supreme power. There's something bigger Allah is telling us. So inshallah, we'll be covering that. Going back to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something in Islam. I promise you, sisters, if you embrace it and you follow it, it will dismantle the Roman law. It will dismantle the Hindu law. It will dismantle all the things that penetrated into society, which were not part of society when Islam had been given to everyone. And that means the people of the book. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقُولُوا ثَلَاثًا. Stop saying Trinity. Intahu khairul lakum. If this book is exclusive for Muslim, why is Allah commanding in the Quran to the people? Because Allah cares about everyone. Allah wants people to realize this was a mistake made by people. He's saying intahu. He's commanding. He's not saying قُلْ لِلنَّصَارَى أَن يَنْتَهُ. Allah is saying, He's saying stop. You stop. Meaning He wants the people to know this is not part of what I revealed. Stop, it's better for you. إِنَّمَا اللَّهُ إِلَهُ وَاحِدٌ. Allah is only one God. Subhanahu an yakuna lahu walad. Allah says in such a beautiful way. He didn't say, how dare you say I have a son? I'm going to come down and beat you black and blue. He just said, إِنَّمَا اللَّهُ إِلَهُ وَاحِدٌ سُبْحَانَهُ أَن يَكُونَ لَهُ. How could Allah have a son? Everything belongs to Allah. So he's logically playing the logical game, saying, think about it. If everything belongs to me and I've made everything, why do I need one son? He's explaining it to his creation through the Quran, because the Quran is for all of humanity. Everyone has a right to read it, everyone has a right to understand it, and everyone has the opportunity to live by it. No one is being told you cannot. Our religion is for everyone. Whoever wants it, whoever doesn't want it, it's okay. But this book is a message to everyone. So subhanAllah, this was a thing that happened. Conferences were held in Rome to debate these matters. Think about it. Not only was this a mindset, but they had to have conferences to reinforce these mindsets, just to discuss whether women possess souls like men. How much waste of time is this? When France was debating the burqa ban and the niqab ban, at that time, I think according to statistics, not even 100 women in France were wearing the niqab. Not even 100. But you are debating. Remember, every day that goes in the parliament, in the session with the lawmakers or the parliament members, it's money. People's money is being, they don't do sessions all year long. They do what, 60, 70, 80-day sessions, and they take a break. So out of a whole year, maybe 100 days are deliberating and debating laws. There's laws about cracked roads, broken pipes, lead in our water. There's a lot of things we need to discuss. But they spent weeks discussing a niqab in this country. And when it was passed, you think about the ratio. You spent all this time to ban 100 women out of the 1,000 of women in this country who wear a niqab. Was it worth it? No, but that's the mindset. That's the mindset. Open our eyes to see. They debated if they had souls like men, or were their souls like the animals such as snakes and dogs. Na'udhu billah. And here Muslim women are saying, they stand up on Fox News. All these, I don't want to say their names. And they say Islam is wrong. Islam is of the devil. Quran needs to change itself. And you're saying you're a Muslim? You know, when a person says to me, I left Islam, I will tell them, good for you. But let me just tell you one thing. Next time you leave something, know what you're leaving first. Know what you're leaving first. Know it.
Okay.
I hate Islam. No. What is Islam? Did you learn what Islam was first, that you're hating it? You're hating a farce, deception, cover-up, mask, camouflage of what is Islam. Maybe in any country, if you hate it, you despise it, and you want to leave it, and you're saying, you know, the ultimatum. When is that a person says, I'm going to burn the house down? Well, you had a problem. Like, remember the Sahaba? There were some ants that had bitten some Sahabas, and they burnt the colony of the ants down. The Prophet ﷺ said, because some bit you, you did all this. This is injustice. So just because someone did something or said something through a cultural mindset or ignorant mindset, you want to discard the whole faith now? Okay, fine. You want to throw the faith in the garbage? That's good for you. You're human. Allah has given you free will. Do what you want to. But my humble suggestion is, know what it is that you're leaving first. Know it first. Know the facts. So when we have an internal debate and battle of why Islam is so bad towards women, learn it first. Is that what Islam said? If that's what the Quran is stating, then I will stop my class and we will say Islam is mean and treats women inhumane and transgresses the rights of the women. We will say that. That will be our statement. But that's not what my Quran and Hadith states. So where is it coming from? We can learn where it's coming from. In one of these gatherings in Rome even decided that women did not possess a soul at all. So after 3 days of conference in the Marriott of Rome by the Colosseum, they decided over breakfast, right, that women have no soul and they would never be resurrected in the afterlife. In the Arabian Peninsula, most tribes prior to the advent of Islam regarded women as something to be despised or abhorred. They were seen as sources of shame, which many would try to avoid by burying infant girls alive as soon as they were born. You know, I was telling someone just the other day, if you go to Haram and you come out of King Fahad door, and the old Hilton Hotel's in front of you, and you go right. On the right is the Intercontinental. I call it the Lego building because it's like a big block. It's discomforting to the eyes. You go towards that, you cross Shah Ibrahim Khalil, and go into any of those hotels, the Hilton Suites, the Hyatt Regency, Hilton Convention, whichever one, and just go upstairs maybe a few floors to like where the food court is. If you go into the food court and look out of the window towards Haram, Shah Ibrahim Khalil goes like this, and I think it goes up this way, and then another road goes from here towards Shari Sittin, which goes an opposite way. So this road's going up, and then this road's going down. In between, there's this triangle space. You'll see it, even if you're walking there. You don't have to go upstairs, but you can even see when you're walking. But many people don't notice it. It's just they think something's under construction. It's a triangle between the two roads going. It goes like this, and then it kind of cuts off here because the bridge is going up, so you could see straight down. It goes down towards a tunnel. Where it's written on the wall, Maqbara Wa'd al-Banat. This is the place where they used to bury the girls alive. And when you look from upstairs, you can still see like the stones, the stones that kind of mark the graves. So there was a place where they would go and bury their daughters alive. So ask yourself, when such a twisted ideology existed, when having a daughter was shame, who are the men gonna marry and how are we gonna reproduce? Like, did that even make sense? No, it was just so crazy. Burying daughters alive, and they would do it right in front of the Kaaba, in front of their gods and their idols. Meaning, it was justified when shameless, senseless, twisted things start happening in Allah's house, either a masjid or in front of Allah's house in the Kaaba. Know that we have hit the peak of ignorance once more. They used to, what did the Quran talk about وَلَا تَسْتَقْسِمُوا بِالْأَزْلَامِ, right? People used to do different things with their arrows towards their gods, like which god is saying this, like all these superstitious acts were being done by the Kaaba, right? Superstition has taken over in a whole different face, a whole different image. It has plagued our religion that we are doing the worst things. People go to tawaf in the Kaaba to touch women. They go there to steal people's money. They go there to do the worst of things, and they think it's right. They think it's okay. What has happened? We have gone back to the same Jahiliyyah days. You know, if a person had shame, they want to do something wrong, they'll go hiding in a corner somewhere and do wrong. Here they're taking their daughters that was born from the womb of their wives, and they're taking it. This is a part of their body, and they're taking them. And remember how Quran says, burying alive. They never killed them first. They actually showed them, I'm digging your next home, and they will put them there and then shovel them back up. That they would die suffocating or by inhaling that sand, the heat. What was happening? And the Kaaba's in front of you. The Kaaba's in front of you. If it wasn't the house of the one God, it was the house of the one God who was housing all the other gods. That was your place of sanctity. And this is what you're doing. Tomorrow, things will be done in the name of Islam, and it will be assumed this is Islam. We had a generation that made Islam. Then we had a generation that wrote about Islam. Then we had a generation that wrote the work of the other people who did the work for Islam. Now we are a generation that just reads those books. Think about it. The Sahaba worked. Imam Bukhari and them wrote and compiled. Then the people wrote the lives of those people who gave those fatwas and rulings of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah or whatever. And now all we are doing as Muslims is reading their books. Islam has become just reading and learning. This is the most strange. I don't understand this. I'm against this in so many ways. We want to do this conference, we want to do this halaqah, we want to do this class, we want to do this. You want to just keep on reading. When are we going to do? When are we going to change? When are we going to better? Think about it. They did. They compiled. They changed the world. And then there came those people who made fatwas and wrote some amazing stuff. And all we're doing is we're going to read their books. We're just reading their books. That's what the hadith said. A time will come when people say, our parents and forefathers used to do this. They'll be so far from Islam that when someone will die, let's say, I think our grandfather once talked about something called janaza. Just kind of put the body in front of you and just do something. That's where Islam is going. Because when you're not doing and you're just reading about what people had done, I always tell scholars, we always refer back to these scholars. Imam this said this and Sheikh this said this. What are you saying? What is your ruling? What is your opinion? Why aren't you writing those things down so that the next generation learns that every fatwa is written in the time of the people, under the situation of those people, and that's a ruling for the people? I can't go to a fatwa written in the 1800s and say that's what Islam tells us. Well, the Quran was written 1400 years ago, but they dissected a ruling for that time, and all we can do is refer back to Ibn Hajar Asqalani and Imam Suyuti. Well, where are we? What are we doing? Think about this. Our religion is practical. Our religion is to take the world by the horns and take it in the direction of goodness. But we're not doing it. So that time is coming where we're going to say, yeah, they used to say. I think that's what they used to do. How many people, if a family member dies, knows how to wash the body of their family member? Think about it. If my mom or dad died today, if my mom passed away for the sisters, you should be there washing your mom's body. That's called doing, not just learning. I want to be there to do it. But no one knows how to wash. How many of us know the dua for janazah, that if my child or my spouse or someone close to me died, I could say, Allahumma aghfir li hayyina wa mayyitina. We're not doing. We're just talking. It's sad. It's a sad reality. Because if I'm not there to show my children that when my mom or dad dies, I'm going to be there to wash the body. I'm going to be the one praying for them. I'm the one who's going to go bury them. I'm going to be the one who's going to go by the grave and teach my children. This is how you pray on the deceased. You don't come here and put a big tombstone. Rather, what you do is you come and pray for them. And you do good for them so that this place continues to smell like the sense of paradise, and it continues to bring forth the goodness of paradise. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to talk about it. It's a big difference. There's a story, an interesting story of To Lighten the Mood. There's a story of an Imam and his best friend. Imam's best friend was very rich, wealthy. Imam was Imam. He was poor and just get by. So the Imam's father passed away, washed his body, kafan, janazah. He took him and buried him in the dirt. Sunnah is to make the hump. The hump is only so people know there's a grave there, right? And then put a stone by the head and the foot just to show that there's a body here. A few months later, the rich man's father died. So same thing, janazah, wash the body, burial. But then he built a beautiful, stone for him. From his foot to his head, marble slab, stone, big tombstone on top, wrote the verses of the Quran and everything else. So now one day the Imam and his friend are sitting down having a meal, and he's like, why do you hate your father so much? He told the Imam, why do you hate your father so much? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, look, when your dad died, you did this, you just left him in the mud. When my dad died, I loved him so much, I made a whole, a tomb for him, beautiful. That for generations to come, when people will see it, they will say, okay, someone big is buried here. Whoever buried this person loves them. How many graveyards do we pass by when we drive? Ancient tombstones. How many people do you see there remembering? No one. If you watch Coco, the Disney movie, they have to go once a year to kind of revive the souls and stay alive. Like those big areas and the rich areas where there's, there's no grass, it's all, cement and marble and these big rooms you go into and these crypts or whatever else. How many people go and pray there? It doesn't mean that you love. So what he said, I did this for my father, you did nothing for your father. So the Imam then smiled and said, you know what? I love my father, you hate your father. How dare you say that? Why are you saying that for? He goes, I'll explain to you. The day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Israfil to blow the horn and everyone comes back to life, my father's going to come back to life, he's going to slip out of the grave and start walking. Your father's going to keep on banging his head against the marble because he's stuck. So I love my father. You hate your father. You jailed your father in that place. So at the end of the day, it became a custom. Because if you love them, you'll spend 20,000 on a coffin, you'll spend 10,000 on a suit, and you're going to put them in a place where no one's going to come and see them again. Huh? What are we teaching? We need to start showing. We need to start showing. If we start showing, we're preserving. When we show what nikah is about and we hold nikah ceremonies, we should hold walima ceremonies. We don't need to do graduation parties. We need to do walima and nikah ceremonies. Why? This is a sunnah, has to be celebrated. We don't need to do Christmas parties. If you want to do a Christmas party, first do an Eid party. If you want to celebrate Christmas, first take time off for Eid. There's a brother whose daughter is getting married, and they asked me to change the time on Saturday because he's going to be work till 5:30. So the question was that your daughter's getting married today. Can you not just take the day off? No, I need to work. We could do it after I get off work. And I told Sister Maya, Sister Maya, I understand this. You know why? Because we are a people that don't even take day off for Eid. We say, go to the first Eid prayer at 6:30, 7:30 because I need to go work. This is Muslims. We don't take time off for Eid, which is your religious right in this country, and then you want to celebrate Christmas. First, celebrate your Eid properly. First, make your Eid into Christmas, then tell me if you have any inclination towards celebrating Christmas. Because you have undermined the value of your religious practices and celebrations. Who's going to revive it for you? Your kids are not going to come. Children, I found out 2 years ago, I did my last Eid here, mashallah. The year before that I was in Tampa. And that's where I found out that so many people don't come for the Eid prayer. They'd rather wake up at 10, 11 o'clock, dress up and go for the parties. They're not going to come for the prayer. The prayer is the beginning of the party. The prayer is when the ball drops. Now it's the new year. Now have fun. But no one wants to come for the prayer. Why? Because we just told people this is our culture. No, this is my religion. We are going to come together. The Prophet said, go out from one path, come back from another path. Say the takbir loudly so the world hears. Today is your day. Today is like when we were studying in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and the Mardi Gras parade would happen, we had to go ahead of it. So we had to leave our neighborhood and go to, I think, Abu Bakr Masjid, and when it would come, we'd go to another masjid because they didn't want us to see this parade. But the parade was so loud that even if you couldn't see it, you could hear it. And if you can't hear it, you knew about it. Right? So they kind of took us around a whole circle so that we would not be exposed to it. But it was so loud, the whole city, forget the whole city, the whole world knows about Mardi Gras parade. And today, the world doesn't even know what our Eid is. When we have 2 of them in a year, 2. Because we don't want to go, and if we go, we want to keep it quiet. When we keep a hashash, we go back to work. Take time off for the sake of Allah. You cannot be fired for that. Give them advance notice. If you don't know if it's the 4th or 5th, take 2 days off. Take 2 days off. If it goes from your holidays, it should be from your holidays. This is a holiday. Take it. Why are we reluctant not to take the holiday? So these things need to be discussed. So we're talking about the girls being buried. The Quran says about this, when news is brought to one of them of the birth of a female child, his face darkens. He is filled with inward grief. With shame does he hide himself from people because of the bad news he has had. The Quran is talking about how Jahiliyyah was. Shall he retain it on suffering and contempt or bury it in the dust? Ah, what an evil choice they decide on. Chapter number 16, verse 58 and 59 talks about this. That now that the child is born, their face has become blackened with shame, and they have a choice: live with it or bury it. And the Quran says, of course, they went ahead and buried it. Explaining the enormity of the crime of burying alive an innocent infant who has never committed any sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah number 81, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. On that day, Allah will ask the female infant that was buried alive what crime she was killed for. Can you tell me your crime? When the child would say, I don't know what my crime was, now Allah is going to turn to the parents. How many Sahabas killed their children? And one of the things that bothered them was this verse. It was done at a time when you didn't know better. It was done at a time when after you took the Shahada and Allah wiped away your whole previous life. But this burned them inside. You know what a good Muslim is? That your sins are always bothering you. That's a good Muslim. You'll never forget those sins. Doesn't matter if you were negligent or you weren't a Muslim, those sins will keep you on the right path all the time. They will keep you focused. But a person, this says every saint was a sinner, but if every saint thinks that they're perfect, we're in big trouble. So they would read these verses and cry that was a time that we did this, or we saw it being done and we didn't say anything. What will Allah say to me tomorrow? But the Prophet could say, hey, no, don't worry. That was Jahiliyyah. Now you're Muslim. Allah forgave that. No, it's burning me because Allah will ask my daughter why. And when my daughter won't be able to answer, Allah's going to ask me why. And what am I going to say? See, the Sahaba saw sins as detrimental to their lives, detrimental to their worldly life, their qabr, and their akhirah. We think of the biggest sins as Allah's Ghafoor Rahim. I drank a few bottles of whiskey. Allah's Ghafoor Rahim. He forgives. Ramadan is coming. I'll go to masjid for 2 minutes on the 27th night. I haven't seen people buy more alcohol as have I seen Muslims. I have seen Muslims in Dubai buy alcohol like no tomorrow. And when you're going from Dubai to any Muslim country, you watch those duty-free bags. And they boast about it. My friend is from back home country in Florida. He said when he went back home, they offered him all the fine liquors. And he's like, I don't drink. And they laughed. They said, you live in America and you don't drink? They sneak this stuff in and they drink it with pride. And here you don't drink? I don't know if you heard Nigeria. Nigeria orders pizza from England. Have you heard about that? Nigeria sends people to England to buy pizza. I don't know how good the pizza is in England. So they send people to England to fly, or they have people coming from England on British Airways to bring them pizza. And they were talking about this in their parliament of how, our own economy is suffering because people have enough money, they're buying pizza from England. And look at us. Our Muslim countries are selling alcohol like there's no tomorrow under the name of we cater to the non-Muslims. The non-Muslims don't come to your country to be catered to. They come to see what's different in you that they don't have. They come to eat on the floor when they sit on tables. They come to eat rice with their hands when they eat pizza with their hands. They're coming to see something different. They're not coming for the same. They have that already. But we are so ignorant that we're saying, oh, for them we do this. We will sell pork for them. We will sell alcohol for them. And guess who the greatest customers are? Huh? You go to if you come into Emirates Airport, one hand luggage, 10 pounds. I remember we left for 2 days. We came back. I had 2 bags. No, that time I left for the day and I came back. They were like, you can only take 1 bag through. And it was scary because I had 2 bags. I had my Hajj computer and stuff, and then I also had my handbag. So I had to go and check in, and I paid $175 to check in one of my bags because I didn't want to throw it away. People were actually throwing. You go inside, now people who have their 1 handbag, now you could buy 10 bags of duty-free. 10 of those white bags, keep on buying it and go walking with the alcohol. Na'udhu I said, Allah did not make haram on us except things which He didn't want to expose us to. He didn't want to ruin our body. When you go to the gas station, your car says unleaded fuel only. But there's also diesel. There's 87, 89, 93, right? But there's also some gas stations that have 80 or something. But your car may say 83 and above. Don't go below that. But you'll say, hey, gas, it's cheaper. I want to put it in. Fine, go ahead and put it in. Guess what you've done? You just ruined your entire car. If you put diesel when your car doesn't take diesel, and you start that engine, your car's bye-bye. Huh? Remember once one of our uncles in the masjid, he put diesel. They called one of the brothers in the masjid. What he had to do is he had to suck it out. So when you suck it, you start that flow. He drained out the whole gas tank because that diesel does not belong in this. You understand? So Allah said, don't eat pork. Not so that in America and Canada, when everyone's eating bacon in the morning, you look like a weird person at Denny's. Not that when people are going to the bar and drinking, you look like a person who's just drinking water. No, it's not good for this body. I thank you, Allah, that you save me from what's not good for me. Allah save me from gambling $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on NCAA finals and finding out that Virginia won and Texas lost. Allah save me from that. Because we've seen people gamble their lives, their homes, their families away. You go to talk to some people in Los Angeles on the streets, they'll tell you that they are on the streets because they gambled their life away. Allah, thank you, you saved me from that. You saved me from those 50-cent slot machines because it would take me to where this person went. Allah, thank you from alcohol because a person, when they drink, their body is ruined, their facial, their exterior body looks different, and they do things that they don't know. Allah, thank you from these addictions. Islam saved us from all addictions. Islam saved us from all immorality. A sheikh was giving such a good talk that when we made relationships free, see, marriage was an effort. It was upholding goodness and modesty, and it was also upholding human satisfaction through a relationship. What we've done is we've made zina free. Now a person makes zina free with their eyes, they make zina free with whoever they want to. Now they're losing that edge, like it's not fun anymore. Then became the same gender relationships. Now that's going off. Now he said there's also animals and beasts. You know what people will do? Because when a person goes down the path of haram, nothing is satisfactory anymore. It's a shame. Allah, thank you. You allowed me to fulfill my needs in a halal way where I feel happy and satisfied and I feel no remorse and regret. Your Allah didn't make haram to ruin you. He made it haram to save you. So if we were to see that Allah made the preservation of a girl's life not haram because we just needed more women in this world, but because saving a person's life will save you from harm in this world and harm in the next world. The Muslim woman understands this great blessing which Allah has bestowed upon her the day when the brilliant light of Islam it shone upon the Arab world, when the Prophet ﷺ was in Arafah. On the day of Arafah, at the time of Asr, Allah revealed, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam Madina. This day have I perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. You know what the Jews said to the Prophet ﷺ? And you know what the Jews said to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, and what they said to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh? If we could cut this out and put it in the Torah, we will celebrate that day. That would be a day of celebration. The day of Arafah, when this verse was revealed, for us is what? Oh yeah, a verse was revealed. Allah is saying, I've closed the books today on you guys. Allah didn't close a book on the Psalms. Allah didn't close it on the Torah. He didn't close it on the Bible. He closed it on us. He said, today it's done. Meaning Microsoft has completed its ultimate update till 100 years now, or till the end. Microsoft does not need another update. This is everything. Every other Microsoft 95, 98, Millennium would be crying, hey, how come we didn't get that? Huh? We were once honored, XP, now people throw us, if they find our CDs in the home, they don't even put in a yard sale, they throw in the garbage. Or they might put it in a museum that once upon a time there's Microsoft XP. Like no one cares about it. Allah took this, the Jew said, if this was in our books, we would celebrate. Allah said, it's so good, no one could change now, it's perfect. Your actions may change, but the religion won't change. A man came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and asked him, O Messenger of Allah, who amongst people is most deserving of my good company? He said, your mother. He said, then who? He said, your mother. He said, then who? He said, your mother. He said, then who? He said, your father. Because of the way she is created, the woman is unique in her ability to bear a child, to feed and nurture the child, a role that is difficult and involves much hard work, as the Quran noted in chapter number 31. And we have enjoined on man to his parents, to be good to his parents. In trivial upon trivial did the mother bear him, and in years twain was his weaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed this creation to grow in his creation. And then Allah allowed that creation to be nurtured by that same creation. Show gratitude to me and to your parents. To me is your final goal and destination. Just as heavy burden is placed on women's shoulder, men given the role of maintaining and protecting the family, qawamun, this is what it means, qiwam. It doesn't mean that they're rulers or superior. It means that the maintenance and protection responsibility, the buck stops on the men. They have a duty of earning the money and spending on the family. However, many men still do not understand the status of the mother in Islam. as is reflected in the hadith quoted above, in which a man asked the Prophet ﷺ, who is deserving of his good company. Islam raises the status of women by placing this status of the mother above the father. And it has also given women the right to keep their own family names after marriage. The Muslim woman keeps her own surname and identity after marriage and does not take her husband's name, as it happens in the West, where the married woman is known by her husband's name, Mrs. So-and-so. Her maiden name is cancelled from civic records. Thus, Islam preserves that woman's identity after marriage, although the Muslim woman is strongly urged to be a good wife, obeying and respecting to her husband. Her identity is not to be swallowed up just by a name. Before we go into this last part, I think it's last two, loyalty to Allah, and then it comes to Quran one more time, and then we go to chapter 2. Before we go into her loyalty, you don't do what you do in Islam because you want to be loyal to your husband, or you want to be good to your children, or you want to be the best one in your friend circle, or you want to be known in your masjid. You're doing it because we are loyal to Allah. How people receive it, how people perceive it, how people judge it, none of my business. People like you, hate you, doesn't matter, because my loyalty is to Allah. When a person's working in a job or they're studying in a class and their loyalty is to their boss or to their teacher, some may say you're a suck up, you're kissing up your teacher, whatever else. You know what? That person will raise their ranks in their job and gain a position of credibility, nobility, because they're doing the job right. Everyone else who are laughing today, talking today, they'll have to answer to you tomorrow. But your loyalty is there. The child that's loyalty to the teacher, does what's good for the classroom, helps the teacher, studies hard, tomorrow that child will be the example for that class and that teacher. Loyalty is something lost in our world today. Everyone is loyal to the person who gives a little more than the next. If someone talks a bit better to me than my spouse, then that person is better. If someone treats me better than my children, I'll spend more time with them. Loyalty is all about how I am given back, or how people give me. No, Allah doesn't give me anything, but my loyalty is to Him, because He's not going to give me a physical dollar. Allah's going to say, here's $10 after Jummah, you did good this week. Allah is going to give me that honor and status and that rank that I won't see happening. It's going to happen. And at that time, let people fall off. I don't care about the people. I care about my loyalty to Allah. And when you do that, then those same people falling off today will rejoin you tomorrow. But if you're going to be surrounded by the people who show their loyalty to you, and just remember one thing, no human being is loyal to anyone. Remember this. No one's spouse, no one's child is loyal to you. Forget your friend. Because if that was the case, the Quran says on the Day of Judgment, everyone will run from everyone. Yes or no? A person will run from their brother, their mother, their father, the husband, wife. Everyone's running from everyone. So if loyalty was there, it should have been exposed tomorrow. Tomorrow you will know your mother and father. You will know your son and daughter. You'll know your husband and wife. You'll know them. It's not like, who are you? No one's going to have dementia tomorrow. You're going to know who is who. But the thing you're going to do tomorrow is, I don't know you. All my life, I knew you, but today I don't know you. So if there is no loyalty in the creation, why are we striving for loyalty from the creation? Why are we striving for people to say, yeah, you're a good person? If Allah says tomorrow you're a good person, the whole creation was going to hear it. The whole creation. Allah will make the angel announce, Allah is saying today so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so is successful. That's a loyalty from Allah. Your mother and father, your sons and daughters, and your brothers and sisters, your husband and wife are standing right there. And guess what they'll be wishing? I wish I had that announcement from you right now. No one's loyal for anyone. Loyalty is overrated when it comes to how we see it. True loyalty is with Allah, because Allah is not going to forget anything. Allah will remind you tomorrow of something that you did and forgot that you did. Allah doesn't tell you, hey, just remember, that was also something I recorded. That smile you gave to that person that day walking into the masjid who wanted to harm themselves, that smile gave them hope, that prayer gave them more hope, that saved their life, they became someone good. It's all in your account. All you did was say, Assalamu alaikum, sister, welcome to the masjid. That's all you have to do. Oh, people are going to say, what are you talking to her for? She's not our friend. If you cannot be the example of good, if we're not If we're not the vessels of good, we're the vessels of evil. There's no middle ground. There's no, I'm not doing good, but I'm not doing bad. I'm just going to sit here. No. You're either or. So we have to break the taboos in our society and be those good, because loyalty is only to Allah. Everyone else will continue to use and abuse. You know, there's a story we're told. I know it's a story. It's not real. But stories hit you and they live with you. After Allah, the greatest loyalty that you can reflect on is loyalty of a mother. The mother's loyalty and commitment to a child is something that we will always have to remember as a commitment, a selfless commitment. So there's a story about this one guy who used to always serve his mother. And again, it's a story, but again, it holds a lot of weight. He used to serve his mother, take care of his mother, love his mother. He was an old person, but he never even ventured to get married because he wanted to serve his mother. One day he met someone, she loved him very much, but she was jealous of the fact that he's constantly saying, I can't come tonight, I have to go take care of my mom, or I need to ask my mom first. So she was really jealous, but she knew he loved him, he loved her a lot. So one day she gave him the ultimatum that, look, it's either me or your mother. And if you love me and you want me, you're going to kill your mother, take her heart out in a platter, and bring her heart to me. It's maybe a story, it's maybe a tale, but it has power to it. So it said that he thought, and then, you know, that devil spoke in him that, you know what, she's going to die one day anyways, like, you've done enough, Allah should be happy, just finish. So one night he went and he killed his mother. He took out her heart, and he wanted to prove his loyalty, so he was running to her to show, look, I love you. While he was running, he tripped. He fell, and the heart flew out. And when he went, and subhanAllah, when he went to pick up the heart and put it in the platter, the heart said, son, you're okay, right? Huh? My son, you're okay? You know how much our mothers care for us even when we don't call them or we don't reach out to them. They're constantly thinking about us, they're dreaming about us, they're praying for us, their every breath has our name. But that's what Allah says about the mother in the Quran, because if you want to see Allah's love, look at the mother's love. So there was an ad release this morning because basketball, Dwayne Wade, he's retiring. And it was a very emotional ad. It made me cry also because Dwayne Wade is a player in Miami, and he, in every game that he played, he saw those crowds. He exchanged jerseys with the best people of those teams. And they were going to introduce 5 more people, and these were 5 commoners, people whose lives he touched. He touched some girl's life by giving a scholarship. One lady, her house burned down. He paid for everything. This girl whose brother died in Florida shooting, he was there for the family, but he didn't remember those people. But when they came back and they reminded, and they gave him a gift of a garment that he could remember them by, the last person to walk in was his mother. And his mother, you know, she was a drug addict, she was abusive, and she went to jail for many years, leaving him. And she goes, I remember the day that your mother hit the lowest of low, and she had to go. I remember your face, that you were crying with tears. She goes, but I'm so proud of you, my son, that you became someone. You're the joy of my life. Doesn't matter how bad your mothers may be, they are the strongest support you'll ever have. And if you can be loyal to your mother, you'll understand what loyalty to Allah is. No one else is loyal to you. No one will be loyal. The second, Allah forbid, we get sick or disabled, look at the story of Ayyub alayhi salam. The second first he got poor, then he got sick. So I gave the example, Ayyub alayhi salam. Ayyub alayhi salam was living in Manhattan. You know, he was living in the high rise of Manhattan. He became poor, he had to consolidate and move to the outskirts of New York, maybe Brooklyn, the Bronx, or somewhere, Astoria. Now he's living in the poor areas of New York. His family's aggravated. Then what happened? He got sick. All his wives left him. His children left him. We know the story. One of his wives stayed with him. And she also then became a nuisance to him because she was nagging. And one day he made that oath, I'm going to hit you. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then that day opened, because Shaitan came to her and said, if if your husband's so connected to God or something of that effect, why can't God save him? So she came and said something to him and he got very mad. But after all that was said and done, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hit the stone and the water came out, whatever, and tie 100 sticks together and just touch your wife to fulfill your oath. But when he was asked later, what were the best days of your life? Learn from the stories of prophets. Ibrahim a.s. was also asked what was the best day of his life. Ibrahim a.s. response was, the best days of my life when I was in the fire. Because humanity left me, but Allah was with me. Loyalty to Allah. And for Ayyub a.s., he said the time that I was sick was the best days of my life. Not Manhattan, not those high rises, not when he was with his family, because the money left him, family left him, children left him, wives left him. But that was my best time. He said, because every day Allah asks me, Ayyub, how are you? Allah asks, Ayyub, how are you? That was it. That was a climax of the day. If Allah asks me how I am, everything is fine. Now, Allah asks us every day how you are by coming to prayer. He wants you to talk and tell him how you're doing. But you don't want to talk to him because the friends are waiting. You don't want to talk to him because the family will get upset because you're praying. You don't want to talk to him because the movie starts at 2 o'clock and Zohar is at 2 o'clock. You don't want to go to the movie. Like, we all have an excuse. When Allah's saying, I want loyalty, I want to give you my loyalty, and I want you to be loyal to me, but we don't have time to talk to him about it. Everyone else is falling off the grid. They're dying, they're moving, they're leaving us, they're betraying us, but we don't see loyalties with Allah. You want to understand that loyalty, understand the loyalty of a mother. And Allah articulated in the Quran, she holds him and bears him with that pain. وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. And then she feeds and nurtures him for 2 years. أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ. So you could be grateful to me and grateful to your mom. A lady who doesn't even wake up at night will wake up the second the baby wakes up and starts crying. It is called infrared technology, as I call it. Allah's texting or Bluetoothing to the mother. Wake up, your child wants you. Allah is so loyal. Why don't we understand that loyalty with him? So I think we'll pause on this, inshallah, and reflect. Inshallah, we end next week, inshallah, with loyalty to Allah alone. I promise you one thing, and I'll end with this. Once you become loyal to Allah, the world will fall on your feet to be loyal to you. Remember this. Once you become loyal to Allah, the world will fall on your feet to be loyal to you. Why? Because you will be the gateway to Allah for them. And as long as you discard Allah, every person's salam, salute, picking up your shoes, opening your door will leave you in the most desperate moments of your lives. So we need to become loyal to Allah, and the only way we can become loyal to Allah is benefiting from the month of Ramadan. It's coming up for loyalty. You want to prove loyalty, don't just fast and eat pakoras, fast and connect to Him. And yeah, one of the things in our menu was no fried food, okay, please. No fried food. Tell the stores, don't sell oil, just sell dates and sell soup. You know why? Because I promise you, after you break your fast, the little you eat, you'll have great strength. You'll allow the spirituality to grow in you. Don't stop it. Let it continue growing. I said the other day, fasting isn't about toning down the body. Everyone's like, I have to lose weight. Okay, Ramadan's coming. I'll lose 5 pounds in Ramadan. No, it's not, because Quran doesn't say, and Islam doesn't say leave something. Quran said substitute, change it out. When Allah said about the Quran, مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا نَأْتِي بِخَيْرٍ مِنْهَا أَوْ مِثْلِهَا. If Allah abrogated a verse, there was stoning in the Quran. The stoning was only because it was a Medina law. So Allah said, okay, we'll follow that law. But then Allah changed it out with something better. Why stone someone to death? Lash them and show it that don't do this. So when Allah says we changed it, we didn't just take something away. Allah didn't take away haram food from you, alcohol. He gave you the alcohol of paradise. Allah didn't take away your desires from the world, but He gave you halal way to fulfill your desires and contain them for everlasting desires of an everlasting world tomorrow. So Allah substitutes with better. So what fasting isn't about losing weight, it's about breaking down your body while building up your soul. By the time Ramadan ends, it doesn't matter how much food I feed my body, it's not going to die. But as my soul is stronger, the muscles of my soul is stronger, the resolve of my soul is stronger, you watch how you change. it's gonna be a transformation. So may Allah make our Ramadan a transformation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Ramadan a reconnection with Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Ramadan that we become better human beings for ourselves, for Him, for our families, for our communities, and for the entire Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Ramadan a continuation of a better life to come. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan for all of your time. Inshallah, we will see you all next week. And inshallah, any questions, please keep on writing them down and we can discuss those questions as we begin class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.